Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our 1-hour draft plan class. I originally did this class in December of 2018 to prepare our clients for 2019, but this is a process you can go through anytime you feel like you need to do some planning. You can use it as a working business plan or a plan for your work team, or you can use it for a personal plan or a life or a career plan. This process works equally well in all of those situations. The video itself is much shorter than an hour, but you'll want to have paper and pen available because you'll be pausing the video at certain points to do exercises. And if you do them all, it should take you less than an hour, and you should end up with a draft plan that gives you the clarity and focus you need to get into action. Here's our agenda and the pieces of our plan. We're going to do what I call a quick values check, then draft some key objectives, look at what obstacles are going to get into your way, come up with strategies to get around those obstacles, prioritize your key initiatives, identify what you need to do to set yourself up for success, and then pull it all together into a draft plan. So now we get to our first exercise, and I want you to come up with a brainstormed list. Just think of 5 times you were really happy and engaged at work, maybe in the last year. Write these moments into the first column of a table, and for each one, write your why, what made that moment so fulfilling for you, in the second column. What I'd like you to do now is pause the video right now and complete this exercise. Welcome back. If you're here, you should have just paused the video and completed a 2-column table that looks something like what's on the screen here. Now what I'm going to do is add a 3rd column for you, and that is, what values do you see showing up in these moments? Your values are the things that are important to you, that you value. At work, your values are usually the things that make work interesting and worthwhile to you. Your job isn't necessarily going to reflect all of your core values, but usually you'll see the same things come up over and over in your happiest moments at work. If you can try to identify them with a word or a short phrase, it will help you ground your entire plan in your values. This is a good place to pause the video and add that 3rd column. If you get stuck here, you can always reach out to me. I often get a lot of questions about values during this part of the lesson. Keep in mind that you don't have to get it right necessarily. This is why it's called a draft plan. The simple idea here is that if you know what matters to you, you know what motivates you. Anything you do that's based in your values will be easier to do because you naturally enjoy it. So any plans or goals that are based on your values will be easier to accomplish. Now we're going to do another fun exercise. This is called the magic wand exercise, and will get you grounded in your vision. I want you to imagine that you have a magic wand, so anything is possible. Think about what a typical day might look like 1 year from now. Imagine you've accomplished everything you wanted to. What does it look and feel like? What have you accomplished? Write 1 short paragraph. Go ahead and pause the video here while you're writing. Welcome back. If you're here with me now, you should have just written about a paragraph of your imagined ideal day 1 year from now. So let's think about that paragraph you wrote. If you were able to make that vision a reality, what are 3 specific things that would have to happen during the year? In most cases, these top 3 things should actually be your key objectives for this year. They may seem scary or a stretch, but they might be worth shooting for. I'd like you to write those objectives down on a list, and then add any other goals you had planned on achieving this year. For each goal or objective you wrote down, add a note in the 2nd column that reminds you of the value that goal or objective honors. This is your why. Why is this goal important enough for me to work on? Don't worry if you can't find an actual value that every one of your goals supports. There may be things that you have to do that don't necessarily support your values, but they're just necessary in order to keep your business running, or things that you have to accomplish. That's fine. The idea is to understand where your values are showing up at work so that you can ground as much as possible in them. You might find that you have a lot of goals, but they may be hierarchical. And what I mean by that is some things you need to get done are in support of other bigger things. Some people call your major things your goals and the smaller things action items. Some people use the words goals and objectives. What you call them doesn't really matter as long as you are clear on what is a major long-term goal and what is a supporting shorter-term goal that is part of making the larger goal happen. This is not really the place to make a long list of to-do items. If you feel certain that you need this, then go ahead and include this on a separate sheet of paper, and that piece of paper you'll actually be keeping with you for reference. What we're doing here is really just thinking about maybe 3 big major goals that you want to accomplish over the next 12 months, and then any smaller goals. Maybe you can call them milestones or sub-goals that are a part of that, but try to keep your list relatively short. Setting goals is important, but what most of our class participants said was the most valuable part of this planning process for them was taking a hard look at what could get in the way, or the obstacles. I'm asking you to think of 2 types of obstacles: internal obstacles, which is how you might get in your own way, and external obstacles, which are outside variables that might throw your plans off. Some people have difficulty seeing both the external and internal obstacles, so I ask you to identify one of both types. For most people, internal obstacles are the things that cause them to procrastinate or otherwise not act. And external obstacles are the market variables or the actions of other people in your organization that you can't control. For example, if your company gets sold and they restructure, you have no control of that, and it will likely affect your plan. Market factors and what your competitors do may also affect you more than you think, even if you're a solopreneur. For example, I used to promote myself a lot by doing speaking engagements, but the supply and demand for speakers who are coaches at the local networking events around where I live completely shifted over a period of 5 or 10 years. Speaking had worked so well for me when I started my business that when I began having difficulties getting engagements, I was puzzled until I examined the external factors. If I had ignored them, I might have questioned my speaking ability or my relevance or forced myself to sell harder. But once I stepped back and took a look at what was going on in our market, I learned that the effort was no longer worth it and it was time to change strategies. I'd like you to pause the video now and identify the most important obstacles that might interfere with your plan. Welcome back, and now that you have your obstacles identified, let's move on to strategies. I want you to proactively come up with a strategy for how to deal with the obstacles before they get a chance to trip you up. We often write these as if-then strategies. Here's an example. Let's say I have a goal to go running every morning before work, but an external obstacle might be the weather, and an internal obstacle might be that sometimes I'm so tired I like to sleep in. So what I might do in terms of some if-then strategies is this. I will go running every morning before work, but if it rains, I'll go to the gym. And if I get up too late and can't squeeze a run in, I'll bring my gym bag to work with me and go at lunch or after work. If my day gets away from me and I can't find myself going to the gym, let's say I'm having dinner and I still haven't worked out, I'll meditate and stretch for 10 minutes before bed, and I'll get everything ready and prepared, including packing my gym bag for the next morning. This level of strategizing gives you a much better chance of getting your run in regularly, and while nobody's perfect, you've set yourself up for the best chance of success long term. Go ahead and pause the video while you're coming up with your if-then strategies, at least one strategy for each obstacle you've identified. Well, welcome back again. We're getting to the home stretch now with your first quarter initiatives. The reason I call these first quarter initiatives is because usually I do these planning sessions in December with people planning for the following year, but it doesn't really matter what time of year it is. The critical point of this part of the process is to identify the next big major initiative you want to make a big push and focus on. Most business leaders make the mistake of having several initiatives they're trying to focus on at once. If you have too many things that require energy and resources that you're trying to push forward at the same time, your energy and resources get spread too thin, and you aren't able to gain enough momentum. A lot of organizations are doing sprints these days, where they are staggering initiatives, focusing on one thing over a period of just a few weeks, and then moving on to the next. During your sprint on a focus initiative, everything else other than the basic operational work gets backburnered. This gives each initiative the benefit of full energy and resources dedicated to it for a period of time, so it actually moves forward before getting backburnered itself. As an example, we might look at a business owner who has several initiatives that she feels are incredibly important and all need to be done within the next month. One is to get a solid sales process in place. One is to hire a new employee, and the other is to fix a problem with a product. As with most business people, she has regular daily work she needs to do every day just to stay afloat. But what she might do is carve 2 or 3 hours out of each day for 4 days in a row to sprint forward on one of her initiatives. Let's just say she chooses hiring the employee first. She writes a job description, decides where to post the job, outlines her screening process, and then posts the job. Then she backburners that initiative for a couple of weeks and turns her attention to the product issue. After 1 week of focus on the product issue, she then focuses on the sales process for a week. And then after that, she has enough resumes in to continue with her new hire initiative. The staggering process works better than working on all 3 initiatives at the same time, just because the solid focus time is more productive than multitasking. Go ahead and pause the video for a minute just to jot down your initiatives and how you want to stagger them. Well, welcome back again, and now that you have your initiatives, make sure you're very clear about which one you're going to be starting with. We're getting to the end here with one more bit of preparation before your final write-up. Laying the foundation is the final step that really helps with success. It's basically asking yourself what you can wrap up or complete right now so that you can backburner it and give yourself the time and space to focus on that first initiative you've identified. Getting very clear that you're not going to get back to something for 3 or 4 weeks can be very freeing and help you feel more organized and on top of things and less guilty for carving out time for your primary initiative. There may be other things you can do, like organizing your space and gathering the resources you need to begin. Pause the video now for a quick minute and jot down to yourself a short list of what you can do to wrap things up and give yourself the time and space to focus on your first major initiative. Well, welcome back, and now you've done all your foundational work and you're actually ready to draft your plan. What I usually have people do is use the bullets on this slide as headers and rewrite their notes on one page organized in this order. This is still a draft and doesn't have to be perfect. You'll find yourself doing a little bit of rewriting, but what I like about the rewriting process is that your mind tends to get clearer and clearer as you write things the second time. And then you're deliberately organizing the information onto one page. Go ahead and pause the video one last time where you write everything up on one page. Okay, well, welcome back for the final time. Now you have the first draft of your plan. In the class we had, I told people to then go home and type it up or dictate it into a Word document so they would have another chance to smooth it out in an easy-to-read document on their computer, ready to retrieve anytime they want to review it. Printing out a copy of the plan should also be easy, especially if you keep it to one page. The repetition, writing it, talking it, printing it, and reading it, tends to get your mind clear and ingrains your priorities in your memory. But then you set it aside. You've spent an hour or maybe even less now putting this plan together. You're welcome to spend more time thinking about it, but you're also welcome to get into action. Remember, this is a draft, and the reason it's a draft is so you don't feel pressured to complete it. The purpose of a draft, or what we call a working plan, is to get you clear and into action on what's most important and help you get back on track when you get confused or distracted. I hope you've enjoyed this process and gotten value from it. Remember, you can always reach out to me using the contact information we have on the screen here if you have any questions. But now it's time to get into action. Enjoy.